most famous physical therapist on the internet.
Hi, folks. I'm Bob Schroep, physical therapist.
Brad Heineck, physical
Together
therapist.
We are the most famous physical therapists on the internet.
In our opinion, of course, Bob.
Today we're going to go over 7, your favorite number, 7 tips to stop shoulder pain while lifting, pushing, pulling, and carrying objects. In other words, we're trying to cover everything you're going to run to while you're in life. Basically.
Yes, the daily needs of the shoulder.
Yep. So let's go ahead and get started here, Brad. Number 1, you want to avoid really awkward and also end-range positions with a painful shoulder. So the most common one is like reaching into a back seat.
Yeah, so you're going up, back, and over, or back over this way is even more.
Right. I think about,
Strangeful.
like, let's say if you have a painful shoulder, you probably shouldn't be throwing a ball.
No.
Especially throwing a football where you bring the arm back and you're really back in end range there.
Yep.
And the shoulder does not like that. That puts a lot of stress on the rotator cuff. So
Well, that's why pitchers can only pitch not even a full game, and then they pitch one game or whatever, and then they have to wait a few days.
Perfect example on that, and that's a good example of these are young people.
Yeah, they're young and they train for it.
Right. So, number 2, avoid overhead lifting and repetitive or prolonged positions. So, when your shoulder's hurting, you really want to, unless your occupation
Requires it.
You want to really avoid that, having that arm above level. Especially things like painting or pruning a tree.
Right.
Even
exactly.
if you
Washing windows.
there we go.
Lot
I bet you do that a lot, don't you, Brad?
I was going to wash a car window yesterday, but then I said no.
I don't think that'd be over your head. So.
Well, it was on the van. It was a tall
Oh,
one.
I
I got to get on the ladder for that one.
Number 3, avoid forceful pulling. So this is going to be the worst one by far. Is
Yep.
The lawnmower or
Right,
some
lawnmower, chainsaw, somewhere
chainsaw. Jeez,
you got to give it up. Ugh.
I had a chainsaw there. Just one start, and I tell you,
Was it electric?
no, it wasn't. What's that sound? But I pulled on that thing, and I never did get it started.
They can be ornery.
Yeah. So especially when it hasn't been used in a couple of
Yeah.
years. So, a suitcase, picking up a suitcase,
Yes,
especially a heavy
yes.
one, which you just, nowadays they have so many of those suitcases that have wheels on them, so you really don't need to lift them very
That
often.
is a real benefit for your back and your shoulder. But opening and closing a heavy door where you're anticipating you need to give it a jerk to open it for whatever reason, if it's sticky or heavy.
Right.
What about walking a dog? I've had
that's a good point.
more patients that
That's a
come
really good
in
point.
that either injured their shoulder when their black lab gave them a jerk, or they had an injured shoulder, and even a little chihuahua re-injured their sore shoulder because they're jerking on them.
I guess if you have one good shoulder, you really want to have the leash in that
Right,
hand.
right. It's kind of one of those habit things. If you always,
No, it is.
use your right hand
exactly.
without thinking about it. So,
Some of those dogs will pull you right off your feet.
right, yeah. Maybe
So-
someone else can walk the dog,
Yeah.
and you can walk with them.
So the last one is pulling weeds. Have you found some good-
crabgrass.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's that time of year right now.
So we use a blowtorch now to blow these.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot.
Natural and just kills them that way. Number 4. This is one that a lot of people don't think about. What you really want to make sure you have good posture when you're working at a desk, or let's say even your arm is just level.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that you have good posture, because if I'm like this, and I'm sorry for you on the podcast, but I'm bending over right now with poor posture, and my arm just doesn't go up as high. It's just, this is as far as it goes.
You see, slouch forward of the mid back, head forward posture, rounded
Yep.
shoulder.
And you'll find this if you try this at home. If you lean forward like this and bend and lift the arm as far as you can, you feel it's run up against a barrier or a wall. Straighten out my posture, now I can lift my arm all the way up. So what that is doing in effect is, if you're working at, let's say, a whiteboard or a smartboard, or you're painting or driving a car even,
Sure.
with the arms level, you're getting a little bit of impingement.
Yep.
If you have bad posture, that is.
Right. Yep.
So it's always, as therapists, we're really happy when we can try to correct your posture, because that's what we do for a living, right, Brad?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it covers so
Makes my
many
day.
things. Yes.
Number 5, keep your elbows at your side. This is what I tell a lot of my patients. Um, these muscles of the shoulder, the rotator cuff, are really small, short muscles. And they've got to lift your big, long arm. The big, long, and this is basic physics, right, Brad?
Right.
Long lever arm. And so they have to generate a lot of force. The farther your hand is away from the body, the more stress is going to be on your shoulder.
Right.
So just simple.
So if you're at a desk, get the mouse in, get your phone in, get everything in close so you do not have to reach out. If you're at a workbench, make sure you can reach things. I call it the work box, right in front of your belly button, especially, basically, so you're reaching
right
at
in
that level.
In that level between your belt
line
and your shoulders.
Yeah, I don't even like to go that high. I like to, that nipple line
sure.
and the belt, and keep it there if you can. Arrange things so that you're not reaching if possible.
I used to know this older therapist that he used to give presentations, and he was a wonderful speaker, but he would say this joke. Oh, I know you're going to have two problem areas when you're trying to do that: wet babies and garbage. Trying to keep them close is a little difficult.
Yeah.
So, number 6, avoid any movement or activity or position that causes pain. Now, this is just like if your hand hurts when you hammer it, stop hammering it.
Right.
This is just common sense, though. If your shoulder's hurting, we're trying to get it to calm down. Mm-hmm. And to get it to calm down, you don't keep working something thinking the pain's going to eventually go away.
Some people have the old school, no pain, no gain. I'm going to work through the pain. It's going to get better. It's probably not. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, a lot of times what happens is your nerves start to get kind of hypersensitive.
Sure.
So they fire off, your pain nerves, they fire off with just very little provocation, so it doesn't take much to but you get them calmed down once, then it takes a lot more to fire them up.
The hypersensitivity.
Yeah, exactly. And number 7, if you are forced to do any of the previous 6 things, what we say is stop every few minutes, and you want to stretch your arm back. So again, for those of you on the podcast, I apologize, but if you picture your right arm, and you're going to grab the right arm behind your back using your left wrist. And left hand grabbing the right wrist.
Yep, like that.
And just pull it back behind you and give it a stretch. And it's going to kind of rebalance out the shoulder. And then you can go back to doing the task again.
It's a gentle stretch, and you don't have to hold it for 30 seconds. You just may go pressure on, pressure off a few times.
Yep.
If your shoulder happens to be so sore that hurts, well, then you may want to go to the pendulum and just leave your arm relaxed and bend over. You bend over like your arm is an elephant trunk, I tell patients, and just the weight of the arm creates traction, completely relaxed, and that is a real...
Yeah, what I found, Brad, that this happened to me recently. I had to do some drilling above head.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said. I shook the arm out a little bit every few, 30 seconds or so, and then I'd go back.
When muscles get fatigued and tightened up and they don't get the blood supply because they're so tightened up and knotted up, you need to get those muscles to relax so you get an inrush of fresh blood and get the old blood out of there and that lactic acid and whatnot.
Now, if you want to remember this list or have actually a copy of it, you just go to our website, bobandbrad.com, go to the programs section. Under the programs, we have an entire series of videos on shoulder pain.
Sure.
And that's what this one is part of.
Yep.
And you'll look for this title, 7 Tips to Stop Shoulder Pain While Lifting, Pushing, Pulling, Carrying Objects. When you find it, below it, there'll be a PDF that you can print out.
Print it out. It's a great reminder. Put it on your mirror in the bathroom so you can read it every day.
There you
You have
go.
it memorized, and next thing you know, life is good.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening.